If I heard it once, I must have heard it, I don't know, 100 times. As a child growing up, and specifically on several occasions, specific occasions, I can remember my mom looking at me and saying these words, I ought to wash your mouth out with soap. And so while you may look at your pastor and think, he's led by the Lord, and I like to think that I am, there's this other voice in my head that guides me. And it's the one who said, why, I ought to wash your mouth out with soap. To remember that voice and to keep that voice going in my head, I think is important for me. And maybe you have voices in your head that tell you what to do and how to do it. And hopefully they are of the Lord. When I see the scriptures in Isaiah 6 and in 1 Samuel 3, and I understand that Isaiah went in and saw the Lord lifted up in the temple. And you have to understand, when you see the phrase that says, the train of his robe filled the temple. Well, the temple wasn't extremely large, but just the hem of God's robe filled the temple. Just look at your clothing and picture the hem of your sleeve or the hem of your pant leg or something. And let's just pretend that this is the temple. That hem that you're looking at would fill this place. And so the enormity of God in that place took Isaiah and made Isaiah feel very small. That's the way it's supposed to be. When we stand before a holy God, we should feel small because we are. We're minute. And when we stand in front of a holy God, all of our brokenness, all of our sinfulness, all of our failures rise to the surface. And we look at them and we see them and we try to cover them. We hide them like we shouldn't be here. That's what Isaiah was experiencing here in chapter 6. You know it to be true when he says, woe to me! I am ruined. I am a man of unclean lips. I live among a people of unclean lips. And my eyes have seen the King, the God, the Lord Almighty. Often I will ask people, not just this church, but the churches previous that we have served, I will ask people if they will consider leading somewhere in the church, in leadership. And sometimes I will hear this reply, oh, Pastor, you don't know what I've done in my past. Or, oh, Pastor, I just don't feel called to that. Or, Pastor, I'm just not gifted there. Or, Pastor, you fill in the blank. And I often think of the times when I myself lived out Isaiah chapter 6. When a well-meaning pastor's wife approached me one day at an age of 16 or 17 and said, would you consider being a liturgist? I had no idea what that was. I thought I had to go get a degree to be a liturgist. Her husband had just died. He was our pastor. He died of a heart attack while painting the parsonage back porch. And so she agreed to stay with our church for a month or two to help us transition in a new interim pastor. And she approached me and said, would you be a liturgist? And so, Adora Shawley Smith, wherever you are, I blame you for me being in ministry because she started me on that path. And in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know what a liturgist is. And then I begin to think of all the things that I've said and done in those 16 or 17 years. Why, I ought to wash your mouth out with soap. And you want me to stand in front of the church? Wow. I don't think I can do that. But me, being the people pleaser that I am, said, okay. Why wasn't I like Jonah and said, nope, I'm going that way? Well, the rest is history. Actually, the rest is God's history, because I don't believe in coincidence, I don't believe in fate, and I don't believe in luck. I do believe in God's meta-narrative that just continues to be told over time. And I do believe that somewhere God ordained that this person would be called, and that eventually, after many years of struggle, would answer that call and step into ministry as a pastor. But there were many times when I even said to myself, woe is me, much like Isaiah. I can't be here. I can't do this. And quite frankly, I'm right. I shouldn't be here. I can't do this. Apart from the grace and mercy of God and the power of the Holy Spirit and the love of Jesus Christ, then I can. Fast forward then into 1 Samuel, and you see young Samuel, who was dedicated to the Lord before he was born. I don't know if you remember that story or not. Hannah went into the temple. She had been barren for years, could not have children. Pleaded with the Lord to have a child. Stood in the temple pleading and begging the Lord. And Eli, the priest at the time, looked at her thinking she was drunk and held her accountable, saying, why are you defacing the temple with your presence here? You're not fit to be here. To which she replied, I'm not drunk. I'm pleading to God for a child. And so here in 1 Samuel 3, Samuel has been born, is growing up in the temple, just as God had ordained it. And here's this voice, this call. Samuel, Samuel. There was a time for every one of us where we heard our name being uttered. Maybe not audibly, but there was something tugging at us down deep inside, and we knew it was something other than what we ate. Here, the Lord has not been revealed to Samuel yet. He's living in a temple under Eli's tutelage, but he's not understood the presence of God. And so when he hears the voice, he thinks it's Eli, and 3 times goes into Eli saying, yes, Master, you called? Eli, he was a priest. He was in the temple. He was chosen by God, but he didn't always get it right. A lot of times he fell down on the job. His sons were, let's just say, if you had his sons, you would want them locked up. They weren't model sons. In fact, unfortunately, Eli was not a model father. He didn't do the things necessary to raise his children in a God-fearing way. And so here, he's given a reprieve. He's given another chance to raise a child the way this child needs to be raised. And so Eli twice says, I did not call you, go back and lay down. Finally, on the 3rd time, when Samuel heard, Samuel, Samuel, he ran to Eli, said, yes, you called? And then it hit Eli. It's the Lord calling this boy. Now, I don't know, Scripture's not clear about this. I don't know if Eli thought back to the day in the temple when he talked to Hannah. I don't know if that occurred. But I know here, it dawns on him, oh my goodness, this is a holy moment. This is a time when God is calling this young man into some form of service in God's kingdom. And so Eli says to him, go lie down. If he calls you, say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. God is painting a picture of a new church. I don't know how many of you follow the blog that I write. A couple days ago, I wrote one entitled Rebuilding Our Country. And yesterday, I think I well, actually yesterday would be today. Today I continued that thought in what it looks like to never give up, to continue to invest ourselves into God's commission. I really don't know what the future holds for our country. I don't like what the future looks like for our country, but I'm confident of this. God has instituted the church way back when, a couple thousand years ago now, in the book of Acts, has filled the church with the Holy Spirit of God to be the salt and light of the earth. And when I think of those two entities, salt generally in those days was used to preserve things and to give them flavor. And light, obviously, is that which pushes out the dark, pushes against the darkness. When I think of the church being the salt and light of the earth, then that leads me to believe that the future of our country, while firmly held in God's hand, needs to be seasoned and lit with the presence of the church. And so I am not an artist. I told you earlier I don't cook and I don't bake cookies. It's true. But I appreciate those who bake a cookie about that big around and about that thick and real soft and gooey and chewy. They're the best. If cookies get hard, they're the best too, because I have a cup of coffee there that I can dunk them in. I'm not a baker. And when you understand what I'm going to say, I am not an artist. I fail miserably at this. But I have up here on these stands, and I'm going to move away from the podium there, Bev, sorry. Bev was thinking, this is going so smoothly. Now I have to follow him around like he's a lost rabbit. I actually have gone to some great lengths to draw some pictures of the new church that God is building. And I know you may laugh at this. You're not going to laugh, are you? I do thrive at stick figures. I think this is a little bit better than stick figures, but anyway. Could I have Laurie and Tiff come down, and you can just go to that one over there if you want, or you can come to this one, Tiff, if you want, whichever's closer. And I just want you to lift the towel. As you can see, I've spared no expense on coverings, bath towels. Just take a look at the picture that I've formed, the bottom, yeah. And just let me know what you think of the picture. Don't say anything. Don't say anything, but just look at the picture and let me know, just a nod up and down. Is that a good picture of the new church? Okay. Now cover it back up again. And so one by one, I'm going to ask if you would come and look at this artwork that I've created for you. And you can sit back down, thank you. And you have to keep, you know how to keep a poker face? Excellent. Poker face just means I have a hand that is absolutely horrid. Or I have a hand that's going to win me the pot. Poker faces. So when you look at this, and this is how it has to work. Like if someone's standing there, the next person in line has to stand right here. Okay? So come on up. Take a look at the pictures that I've made, and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm just going to stand here by the baptismal font while this all plays out. This is a picture of what God's new church will look like. That's a thumbs up. Sweet. That's, ooh, 2 thumbs up. Oh, wow, 3 thumbs up. We're 3-0, almost like Penn State. Oh, that's right, they lost a game. Sorry. Yes, there is that. That's a thumbs up. You don't necessarily have to give me a thumbs up. If you don't look at me and throw something, I'll consider it a win. Just make sure those those guys in the sound booth come up too, as they totally ignore me. Wait, what? Wait, what? Oh, goodness. I keep looking at my phone. It's not because I'm bored or I'm texting or Facebooking. I'm expecting a call from Lackland Air Force Base from Steve Renninger. He said he might try to call during worship to say thank you and hello to you, but he's not called yet. So he will be at Lackland for another month and a half, I think, roughly about a month and a half. That's a thumbs up? So there is some hope then if I would want to go to artist school, or what do you call that? The Art Institute of Pittsburgh. That seems like a good city to go to. That's right. Go Panthers. I think I did a pretty good job, don't you, Tom? That's a thumbs up, thank you. There may be some hope after all. Two thumbs up. Here's a picture of our new church, Francis. What do you think? It's the picture of the church that I believe God is painting. It's God's church. It's not my church. It's not your church. It's God's church. But those are the images of what will make a difference in our church, first of all, in our community and in our country, and hopefully the world. Going forward then, the church with a capital C around the world, and specifically in the United States of America, needs to be portraying the grace and mercy, the love of Christ. That will change the nation that we live in and make the future look much, much brighter when the church rises up and assumes their responsibility to be the salt and the light of the earth. So yes, God is calling all of us to that task. We are moving toward our offering, and as the ushers come forward, I've had these conversations with people time after time after time about the giving nature of this church. And, you know, every Monday morning when I walk into work, and yes, I know I don't get here right at 9 o'clock like some of you do, or earlier. But when I walk in, and all I need to do is look at Rob Hagenberger's face to know whether your offering was good, whether the attendance was good. I can generally put my finger on the pulse of the spiritual nature of a church to know whether your prayer life is good. I get to see you work, rolling your sleeves up and working in the kitchen, in the Stevens room, upstairs, the giving tree, out in the community. So I know your service is good. And I understand when you see those pictures that you just looked at, knowing that you're sharing the peace of Christ with those around you, I know your witness is good. Those 5 areas of our discipleship are so vital. As the ushers come forward to take up this morning's offering, just know that that's one of 5 places where you can thrive. Ushers.